Alright, let's see. We actually have two packages. They're both a little big, so we're going to begin with the Right Stuff one. Especially since I'm not entirely sure if I didn't remember what's in here. I remember entering a code for something they sent that may have a $25 blind box or something like that. But I didn't see anything that indicated they actually honored it, and it doesn't really matter. But it could be in here, it may or may not. So I guess I'll be keeping my eye out for anything that looks like something I did not order. But first, we have to dig in. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Let's see. There we go. It's pretty unusual for them to send something without a receipt. In fact, I don't know if I've ever seen them do that, but no, here it is. And this thing was a sticker. Maybe this is that thing. I don't know. I'm taking a quick look here. 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it could be this sticker. I don't know. Probably not, but yeah. Like I said, it was just really nice. But then we got the main Amazon package here. And I had another thing that actually shipped from Right Stuff, but either the mailman stole it or it's lost somewhere in the parcel lockers. So the best I can do for now is this, and I would have actually had yet another thing, but Amazon messed that shit up. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So to begin with, we have Goblin Slayer Season 1. He does not let anyone roll the dice. This is what the back looks like. I see a region A and a B. I see a 12 there. I can't even read what the fuck that says. I'm a little... I don't know. Not right now. I'm a little irritated that this plastic refuses to come off. Tired of getting fucked around with so much. Okay, yeah, I thought this might be the case. We might not have a back to look back on. So I'm going to take this little piece of glue, put it over here. Let's look a little closer. Let's see, I see English audio. This... Okay, that's probably that's 12 SP. That's probably not the number of episodes, but that's 12 episodes on 2 Blu-ray discs. Anyways, that's an interesting thing. Adventurers Guild, something or the other. Goblin Slayer. This is probably the highest priority watch, but I don't remember everything else that's here, so I guess we'll just have to go through it and make sure. Well, that's one big picture. Kind of doesn't look like it because this one's all black and this one's all shiny, but you can tell that it's reflected on him, and you can see the sword crawl. Let's see, sword, episodes 1 through 9, that's a Blu-ray, that's a 2, 10 through 12, this should be DVD 1 through 6, 7 through 12, I don't know if it makes sense to call him the titular character, I assume so, but maybe, I really ought to watch it and find out. Who would have thunk? Adventurers booklet. Interesting. A lot of kind of concept art sorts of things, maybe. Sketches. And then here we have what is probably... It's interesting. So we've got two sets of things. Whoa, it's actually kind of pretty. Adventurers. Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer. And then here we have ones that aren't shiny. Cowgirl. That's kind of sexy. High Elf Archer. I guess she looks a little high. Priestess. She got some nice thighs, I guess. Anyways, I have impressions of what kind of show it is, but I do know that I will be having to watch it to know for certain, because right now, it is what it is. Anyways, next up we have Senran Kagura Shinovi Master. This feels like the kind of slipcover that comes right off. See some sexy red. Not to be confused with that thing. Back. Totally uncensored from the studio behind High School DxD. Something looks familiar about her, but I think it's probably a VR chat avatar thing. Regions A and B, English dub, special features, episode commentary, opening, landing, promo songs. Alright. Anyways, I am curious just because this is, Senran Kagura. If you're not familiar with it, boobs. I don't know if it actually shows boobs. They say uncensored, but probably does. But, I don't know. You can just kind of tell that's maybe that sort of anime, though. I was just thinking, something about her face seems like it could also be the sort of face they'd put on a trap, but I don't think this is that sort of show, so it's a weird thought. But I don't know. Next up, Yumeiro Patissiere. I don't know. I think it's French, and I don't know how to pronounce French. It's actually Yumeiro. It could be a combination of Japanese, French. This looks like a shoujo show. What turns a good pastry chef into a good one? It's all a matter of taste. Har har har. Japanese with English subtitles. Region A only. All 63 episodes on 2 discs. Who released this? Made in Japan. Yeah. So this is probably a catch-up thing. Standard definition on Blu-ray. Yeah, and the good... Oh my god. Does it mean that maybe a cheeky angel isn't out of question? Because I've wanted that on DVD Blu-ray for a long time. Even if it's subtitled only. Special features. Clean opening and closing animations, made in Japan trailers. I mean, it makes sense that this one could be from, like, Turn of the Millennium. It does have that sort of character design. This one definitely has piqued my interest. It just looks, I mean, it's How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, the complete series. And turn your fantasy into reality. And look, there's another high elf priest. Not priest. Just a high elf archer. On the must-watch isekai hit of 2018. Hecho in Mexico. I see a region A and a B. I see an English dub. Special features. Episode 1 and 11 commentary stuff. Textless opening song, promo video. No closings. This is part 1. It's the complete series. Okay, let's get this plastic separated. Let's get a nicer picture. Same picture, just bigger. But I wasn't noticing like the cleavage until it was nice and big and in my face like that. This is a fabric poster, art cards, magnet sheet. And that's more of the thing. Let's take the glue off, because I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with this entire thing. I am probably going to save this, because I do tend to save them for no reason. like, there's a part of me that thinks that saving them could be good for some future collage project. And I think I'm not going to put them back in there because there's no point in them. Oh shit. I guess that's okay for YouTube. It's inappropriate, but okay. So first, these appear to be the magnets. I can feel this one's already a little loose, so this is... that's already kind of fun. And if y'all didn't notice, from certain angles, her clothes disappear, but she's not showing any of the naughty bits. So what I'm going to do... why is she the only one on, like, all these things? She must... actually, now I think about it, she's probably, like, the main character or something weird like that. Yeah, okay, I can feel the lenticularness, and I can kind of see through that thing, and it looks like there's a lolly character of some sort. So I'm actually going to be kind of careful with these. I'm going... okay, you know what? I'm just going to take them out off camera, because I'm going to look at them one at a time and see if I can... oh man, these things do not want to come out of here. There we go. So, you know, first we got her... yeah, you know, first we got her... this one... jeez. They really do push it, but whatever. I've shown worse on here. We got her, whoever she is. We have her, whoever she is. And then her, whoever she is. And now we got a cloth thing. I don't need it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, and when I'm going to do it with it. Kind of reminds me of... oh, interesting. See, those two characters are standing next to this guy, which makes me think, okay, these are relevant and important to him. But these cloth things are really neat. I just have to decide what I'm going to do with them, other than hold on to them for all eternity. Anyways, let's get down to the details. For some reason I was thinking this would be lenticular, and I guess it's because when I turn it like this, the flashing light of the light above me changing kind of makes it look like it's doing the same thing that the other one did. Oh fuck. Well, I guess, you know, if we were gonna see those anyways. So the discs are, you know, they're actually, you know, they're neat. They're just not like anime exciting. They don't have anime characters on them. I kind of like it when they do. Yeah, no surprise there. So it's kind of interesting because, you know, there's 4 characters, but 2 of them who are the same 2 on this thing and on the cloth thing. Makes me think those 2 really are the most important ones. Briefly flipping through that. It's very thin for a booklet, but I did see some art in there, and I did see what looked like one of the other girls naked, so, you know, that information is in there apparently. A very... I don't know. I guess I wasn't expecting it, so it was almost as interesting... and maybe interesting is not the right word. Shocking as opening the Monster Musume set and seeing full pair of titties. That one, 13 action packs. Bakugan, Battle Planet, Origin of Species. I'm not sure that I have a very strong opinion on this. It's something that I have... I don't know. You know, I'm just trying to keep collecting all the things. Buy one today. That's not the anime. It's an advertisement in the thing. Instead, we're going to make sure this gets snapped back into place. And look at the 2 discs real quick. Nice and simple. I didn't expect that to be too complicated. We got Lupin the Third, Goemon's Blood Spray, which I think I got a Blu-ray version of. So now that I have a DVD version, I can rip the DVD version and take the blue one and file it away, because I'm not going to be getting around to watching these anytime soon. Not because they're not worth it, but because I just barely keep up on watching anything. So I'm always falling behind every single week. I don't know that vacation will be any different. That would be nice to sleep. I might also be able to get, let's not throw that away just yet. We definitely had some sticker up here. That is tiring. Take this. And it's different underneath the covers. I guess audio. I'd be interested in to know. There's an English dub. I don't think they dubbed it. There's, if you want the cover on the inside to be the same, you can do that. You got your DVD. Good old. Next up, we have the DVD version of Kemono Friends Season 1. Which I think I already ripped the Blu-ray version, but well, what I usually do is I'll delete the Blu-ray version because the DVD version will take up less space, and while the Blu-ray version is nicer, the Blu-ray version is kept closer around in case I want to watch it directly, because it's tricky to watch it off of the file servers, but it's useful if I'm going to stream. But if I'm going to stream, I'm going to reduce the video quality to something below DVD level, which means DVD's fine, usually. The only reason I would have Blu-rays if I have the DVD version is because of things. Because there are extra things. Let's see, this should have the English dub, Japanese. Welcome to Chapari Park. And if you never heard, I did actually really enjoy watching it. It's surprisingly, even though it's set up as a sort of thing where you could see it as a, oh, we're introducing kids to this animal, that animal, and we're maybe throwing some things in to keep adults entertained. Well, they've run into legitimate problems and not a lot of the really made up ones. And it again goes both ways with, here's animals and here's the animals learning about her. It's kind of cool. So we have Fate Extra Last Encore 3-disc set. Lost Encore? Yeah, no, not Heaven's Feel. What the fuck even is this? Where the fuck is this thing? Here's this thing. And the problem is I'm having trouble separating it. There we go. Because now that Aniplex has strong enough cardboard or whatever holding that stuff, we don't need these anymore. I know you're like, what do you mean strong enough? Haven't they always been strong enough? And no, a long time ago they were actually very flimsy things. I do want to see the whole picture. The fake pictures tend to be pretty. Type Moon has pretty pictures. Now granted, the sexy golden high heels were not that important, but you know, it's still nice to kind of get a good impression of the whole thing. Let's see. Okay, look, this says English down there, which means there's an English dub to this. We have booklet. That was kind of quick, but you know, I tried to get a general impression of what's in there. 13 episodes. That's some pretty cityscape. Pretty sky. I think pretty sky. But the potato, which I know is not a potato. The potato is weird. I don't know what this is. I'm lost. Last but not least is Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales. Now, if you've never heard of this, this would actually be a worthwhile acquisition for one reason only. So, the basic idea is it's like an 11-episode series which tells 3 stories. And these first 2 are very traditional Japanese horror stories, and they're okay. They're not like blow your mind, and I kind of mention that because the third one, the Goblin Cat, is actually pretty damn good, and I would consider it one of the easy to overlook gems in anime just because it is a single story arc in this 3 story arc series, and if you didn't know it existed, you know, you could easily overlook it, but it's surprisingly good. I see region A over here, so it's probably region A only. It has the English dub. I mean, this was released by Geneon a long time ago. Now, I don't know if it's particularly better on Blu-ray. You know, it is a single disc of all the stuff, but Goblin Cat is great. I'm glad to actually have this on Blu-ray. Trying to think if I feel like I want to rewatch it, but I don't know if I feel anything. Tired, maybe. Anyways, it's a nice big update this week. Here's this week's anime DVD collection update. So this past week I only watched Angels of Death. I guess I was kind of curious about it, and it's interesting. So it kind of floats in a really weird place where you can kind of tell it follows under this category of anime which have gratuitous violence, but at the same time it doesn't feel like it's deep in there, and part of it is there's this weird feeling to it that is kind of reminiscent of Silent Hill, not, I guess more like Silent Hill 2 Silent Hill, and not quite as scary, but very surreal, slightly purgatory-esque. And it isn't exactly that, but it kind of gives that sort of feeling. It's weird. The characters' motivations are weird, but at the same time, they're kind of fascinating. It's... how to explain it? It's... I don't know. See, it's one of those things where I could definitely see people really enjoying it just because it feels like a very different experience than a lot of anime I've watched. While not being too experimental that it's unwatchable, you're kind of curious where it's going with stuff. And it does suffer a little bit from deviating from the feels of earlier on because it's kind of wrapped around this interaction between characters closer to the end that just keeps kind of feeling like it's going back and forth. You're kind of curious because you're curious why it keeps doing it, but at the same time there's an ever so slight feeling of being jerked around, where, especially since the show ends up with doing this thing where it's like, oh, was that supposed to be a spoiler? Now I thought, or was that supposed to be a twist? And I thought it was pretty obvious, and it's kind of interesting because the show was treating it like it would be a twist, but it wasn't. Which is interesting because when I think of Silent Hill 2 and kind of Silent Hill 2's similar moment, they're not similar as in like the same general thing happens, but in terms of build up to that point, Silent Hill 2 was great. Where you could have kind of guessed what it was up to that point, but the truth of the matter is sometimes the more interesting thing is the way the characters react, and if you don't know how they react, it's hard to say, okay, that definitely impacted me very well. And maybe some other people felt differently for different parts of it, but ultimately, you know, it was interesting. I wouldn't say it was an ending that was worth it, because it kind of slipped very quickly into, oh, well, we promised this thing to you, but we're going to present it to you in a way where you're not sure if you're satisfied or not. So I think for the most part, I think it's if people kind of felt a certain kind of romantic connection there that is sort of implied, then maybe. But for me, it strikes me as needing to be kind of fetishy in order for that to work, which may mean that it works for people of the opposite sex, if I think about it, possibly. But it's really weird. It's interesting weird, but it's hard to kind of describe it without going into much spoiler details. And I'm not even sure if I've already gone into much spoiler details already or not. But yeah, other than that, I'm trying to think what I've even been doing. Maybe sleeping, maybe enjoying myself. maybe go on circles. I don't think I played much in the way of games, and most of my avatar work was kept very straightening things up and not really, okay, I've got to do this big feature. So for example, since I played around with so many animations with sounds for last week, if you watched me play on Twitch, basically move those out into a location where I'm like, these are animations for which I have sounds for. And I've got a setup or something that'll allow me to do that. Yeah, the only other weird thing, I think I mentioned this regarding, did I mention yesterday's packages? So in theory I had 2 packages delivered. In practice we've only found, well, okay, so this one was there, but I've never seen one of these open up. I'm just being careful not to show this side because it still has the shipping label on it, which I figure would be kind of good because I have a picture of it being put in the parcel locker. You know, it was scanned, but I'm pretty sure the guy delivering it is like, you know, sucks for that guy because this thing was open. And I was hoping the Amazon delivery this time would come in one of these so I could actually try and separate this to see, because as far as I can tell, I can feel a little, it's sealed in the corner here, but if I were to take a guess, it never sealed, and who knows where in the shipping process the DVD fell out. If you're curious, this one was FLCL Progressive, which I'm not sure if that's technically anime or not. Part of the reason I was leaning towards not being anime is it seemed more like an attempt by Cartoon Network to get more FLCL, because FLCL feels like one of the Cartoon Network staples. It made them big, and they want more of it, I guess. So they want people to see more of it. And maybe in some ways that's not too different from some of the Netflix anime stuff, but that's the thing. Some of the Netflix anime stuff is anime because even though Netflix is funding it, you know, it's still, you know, intended to have a Japanese audience, I think, at some level, and being directed, written by Japanese staff members, maybe. Which, you know, the idea is, you know, the word anime, what does it mean? In Japanese, it's just a shortened way, a cutie way of saying animation. So everything in Japan that is animated is anime. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the way we use the word when we use it. And we is kind of subjective there, I know. But the point is, you know, language evolves, and what you have here is some Japanese words being used in the English language to refer to things that are different than what the Japanese words refer to. If I were to go with the best example, that would actually be the word hentai, where in Japan that literally just means pervert, but here in English that usually means anime pornography. And, you know, anime, again, this is falling under the weird thing, but there's, I think, a big difference in usage there, and that's why you can understand that for something a little less controversial, such as anime and manga, controversial as a word, not controversial in the definition of the words per se. The meanings versus the definitions. So anyways, even though in Japan manga are just all comics in general, here in the States, speaking English, manga refers pretty much to Japanese comics. I think there's potential bleed over with other countries possible, but for the most part people understand it's Japanese. And the same sort of thing happens with anime, and the only thing to understand is the only reason the word has any relevance is just because Japan has been a powerhouse of animation, not just making it happen, because, you know, you have animation studios overseas that do the animation for Simpsons, for example, but the people who produce the show, you know, who write the scripts, who say, okay, this is what we want, and etc. They're primarily American artists, directors, whatever, and they're making what they think would be what an American audience would enjoy, more or less. And I'm sure there's some cross-cultural enjoyment of that in general. But, you know, that kind of lends an idea to what does it mean for something to be Japanese. And you say, well, it's something that the creators thought the Japanese viewing public would enjoy. And they could be completely mistaken about that, and maybe they could think that the enjoyment is something different. But it's, you know, it's about
something within that culture, which is why you get the weird side definitions of things. We're like Little Nimoy's Adventure in Slumberland tends to be a very edge case example of anime, where the first place it aired was in the States, and it was clearly directed by somebody who was not Japanese, and a lot of Japanese people didn't work on it. The original dub is the English dub. So then why does that get considered anime? And, you know, you're going to have people that say it's not anime, and that's perfectly fine. And you'll have some people who kind of understand that the backstory of Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland is that the entire movie is basically the dream child of somebody who wanted his Japanese company to be producing animations for both the U.S. and Japan. And early, Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli was, an early potential director for that, and he even has a thing directed, but he wasn't a big fan of the maybe it's all a dream stuff, I think. He likes his fantasy and whimsical to be there on screen, and for you to just know the character is experiencing that, and not for you to wonder what you're seeing. And Little Nemo kind of blurs some of that a bit, and it sounded like he didn't like that, so he left the project. But it's important to note that he was potentially going to be the director of it, and he has some sample animation stuff produced related to that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm pretty sure I saw it on, no, maybe not on YouTube, maybe it was on one of the DVDs. So it's kind of interesting because you can consider that Japanese because, well, the creative people working on it did it from a perspective that might be more American, and it did reach American audiences first. At the same time, you can think of the whole project as a dream child of somebody who wants Japanese people to experience it that as well. So it's kind of weird. It depends where your definitions of things lie. And I'm just babbling there. I still think it's an interesting topic. I guess that's why I talk about it. And I could be wrong about some of the stuff, but I don't know. Here's hoping some of y'all enjoy it too. And why was I speaking about all that stuff? Oh yes, because FLCL Progressive. I know that it was funded by Cartoon Network. So the questions there are, what kind of creative influences did Japanese people have on it, and were they doing it from a perspective of trying to entertain Japanese public? And it might not be able to be that because it might be English dubbed only, but I don't know. I have to do more research, but either way, it's still a sequel to FLCL, and I might as well get it. Sort of like how I've got the Transformers anime stuff, but Transformers Headmasters was Transformers Season 4 after Transformers did not continue here in the States. And Headmasters is clearly a Japanese-made production, released only in Japan with Japanese dub and stuff, but it still means that I need Transformers Seasons 1, 2, and 3. It's all weird. And I don't know how official a whole lot of that stuff is, but it doesn't matter because it's all thoughts. And I'm babbling a bit. All I can say is, I've had some pretty irritating things happen, but having a package that was never properly sealed in the first place, has nothing in it, and then having the company say, oh yes, we are the #1 customer service company. Maybe they are, but you don't feel like it when you go to their site and everything's like, oh, you want to return or replace it? It's like, yeah, well, check this box to promise that you will mail back the original. It's like, fucking assholes. I can't fucking mail back what was never fucking sent to me. Which is why I guess I'll be hanging on to this for a while, because this is an exhausting reminder, and if I'm given shit, I still have this. It still has the label, it still has the tracking number. But it would have been nice to have received one of these in the mail, or not in the mail, but yeah, in the package locker today, and made sure, it's not very practical to split it. It doesn't feel like it got split. It feels like it was just never sealed in the first place. Except for that one corner there, and I don't know why that is. I'd have to explore their own damn packaging. And the other thing that was supposed to be delivered today was that one about eating pancreas, where it's not about literally eating pancreas, I think. I think the idea is... I don't think it's exactly based on the story "You look good enough to eat," or the saying "You look good enough to eat," or something like that, but it's supposed to be an expression of endearment, but it sounds horrible. Maybe it's just triggering certain phobias, but I'll probably still be curious to watch it, although if it's a movie, then I'm probably just going to be notoriously lazy and not ever get around to it, because I could have watched that movie and I didn't. Stuff. Lots of stuff, lots of babbling. Goblin Slayer is probably not isekai. Okay, good. No, it's just fantasy. It'd be weird if I only watched isekai stuff. It has potential as a genre, but it also has risks as a genre. Oh well, I should stop babbling and let y'all have a nice week.